Hey all you sketchy people, welcome back to my channel. Jack here, and in today's video, let's take a drive around Portland and check out some graffiti on the streets. Whether you love it, you hate it, you think it's beautiful or ugly, it's there. So let's take a look at it, shall we? Let's get sketchy.
His can control is excellent.
And what's the first thing I see for my graffiti video? Why, it is the graffiti removal team. Here they are on the left, bright and early, removing the graffiti that I'm out to feature for this video, so I had to stay a couple steps ahead of them to ensure I get you content for this video. It's not even 6 a.m. Look at that beautiful sunrise. I love getting up this early because I have the city to myself and I can take things really slow and at my own pace. And I love the summer months because the sun is up early for me to start documenting. And today I wanted to document this stretch of I-84 between I-5 and I-205 because they're going to close it down for 12 hours next month, working with ODOT, the City of Portland, TriMet, and Union Pacific Railroad to clean up graffiti and do some maintenance. So I wanted to see for myself maybe a little before and after of what they're going to do. So this graffiti right here is probably going to be gone within the month. And I'm not sure if painting over graffiti and leaving a large blank canvas, so to speak, like this right here, is really the best solve for graffiti removal. If the city can stay on top of it and keep painting over graffiti, it might thwart the taggers not to come back, but I just don't think it will because, boom, they're back right there. Oregon legislature passed a $20 million bill for ODOT, and $4 million of that is allocated specifically for graffiti removal. And, I don't know if that's going to be enough to do anything beyond just painting over graffiti, but I think it would behoove the city, if they really want to tackle graffiti removal, you're going to have to be more proactive and less reactive. Painting over graffiti is a reactionary solve, but proactive would be planting ivy, planting some maybe synthetic ivy, something to make that surface not smooth and be so receptive to spray paint. But as I was cruising into downtown Portland, I did see an install team, and they were up here under this bridge. They were installing some razor wire to probably keep people from getting up on the bridge. Now, is razor wire friendlier than graffiti? I don't know, but hey, it might be a proactive solve. But will $4 million and even the funds from private donations be enough to really stop graffiti? No, graffiti is within human DNA. Public expression is within all of us. Whether you do it legally like a bumper sticker on your car or illegally by tagging a freeway overpass, the need to publicly communicate is within all of us. It's what humans do. Well, if you know the area, it's probably no surprise where I am at, and that is Northeast 33rd and Broadway at the old Gordon's Fireplace building, which has become quite the mecca for graffiti. And this building sits right alongside I-84. And the city wants to begin foreclosure on this building because of a tax lien. The property owner has unpaid fines, but has also expressed interest in redeveloping this land for housing and commerce, but the construction fees are too much, so we're kind of at a standstill with a lot of graffiti sitting on this old building. There's a lot of different styles up there and made for some fun content. There's a really good Willamette Week article that came out earlier this year featuring this building on the cover. All that driving around looking at graffiti's got me a little hungry, so I needed to stop in here at Voodoo for a little round sweet carbohydrate with a splash of liquid hot caffeine. And don't you just love a rotating pastry case of pure perfection? I do. I stared at this for far too long. I love Voodoo. I've been coming here ever since they only had one location downtown. I'd play gigs at the Paris Theater or Ash Street Saloon, and it was great because you can just flip on over and get a gigantic glazed donut the size of your head. Always love Voodoo. It's the perfect break for a sketchy video.
Manager Shelley inside hooked me up with the Ring of Fire, and inside tip, it is my favorite donut, but it will be discontinued, so all you Ring of Fire lovers out there, get it before it's gone. Spicy. I mean, donuts and coffee. Donuts, graffiti, and coffee. What a combo. Well, let's get back to it. We're keeping it sketchy.
So this area is in southeast Portland on Powell Blvd, and you can see these large beige swatches. That has buffed out. That's a term that graffiti artists use when their work gets covered up. It's been buffed out, but the graffiti artists have been prolific and have returned to put up their messaging. And I want to key in on that term for a second, messaging. I think messaging is a large motivator for a lot of types of graffiti, and you may have heard about this story out of England here at Stonehenge. The Just Stop Oil group used graffiti as their messaging as they defaced these large monoliths. And whether you agree or disagree with their actions, the point is this story went worldwide and did indeed raise awareness. They were obviously arrested, but they spread awareness for their messaging.
The little children of Stonehenge.
And I know I'm blurring the lines a lot in this video of what is commissioned mural work versus illegal graffiti activity. I did a video recently sharing Portland murals, but the style of graffiti is an art form in and of itself. And it maybe gets a little tough when you're driving around town looking at art like this and going, is that legal or is it illegal? You know, sometimes it's tough to say. You know, graffiti on residences, small businesses, that's really unfortunate. But technically, graffiti on train cars, that's also private property. Now, I get it, it's a much larger corporation, but still, train cars are private property, but it's culturally accepted to have graffiti on train cars. Even model trains sell boxcars with graffiti already on them. So why is this a cultural acceptance? Is it because the trains are not really stationary, they're always moving, so you know they're going to leave your area, so you might not have to look at the graffiti? I don't know, it was just kind of interesting driving around and knowing that train cars and graffiti, they kind of go hand in hand. Worm Boy! Anytime my wife and I are driving around Portland and we see Worm Boy, we always shout out, Worm Boy! We've seen Worm Boy around Portland in really unique locations and with great repetition, and those two forces are really at the forefront of graffiti work, location and repetition. Graffiti notoriety is really interesting in that if you do it enough, you can become famous. You know, Basquiat, Banksy, Lady Pink, Keith Haring, they all got their start in graffiti work. And it's kind of that weird societal thing that graffiti, wag of the finger, no. But you do it enough and you're prolific enough with it, you can become world famous and a household name based on your graffiti work. But who's to say that this right here isn't the next big thing? Only time will tell. Located under the Burnside Bridge, like trains and graffiti, skateboarding and graffiti also go hand in hand. I love the sound of a skateboard in a skate park. Special shout out to Steven for letting me film some skating on this early morning. The Burnside Skate Park was started in 1990. It was completely DIY. It did not receive permission from the city of Portland to get going. Just goes to show you that enough passion and motivation, a labor of love, and enough people behind a movement, hey, anything's possible. A lot of great art, a lot of great energy here. And I'm not really much of a skateboarder. I couldn't do any of this stuff. But, regardless if you skate or not, you should come on down and check this place out. And you can support the Burnside Skate Park by going to burnsideproject.org, where you can donate, take a look at the gallery, and be immersed in a Portland institution. So we're cruising over Burnside Bridge right here, going into downtown Portland. And I definitely want to feature some graffiti up here on the left. And this is done by rappelling over the side of the building to get those long vertical tags. Made my way down to the Yamhill pub, if you know, you know. And it's interesting that some businesses will kind of embrace the graffiti look to their exterior, to their bathrooms or hallways. You know, they just kind of don't fight it, they just own it. And I've filmed a lot of bar bathrooms with a lot of graffiti in there, and it's really kind of a sight to take in, just like this. And this is a random coffee shop bathroom, tons of graffiti around, stickers, and you know, they just kind of embrace it and own it, because I think they feel that, you know, it'd be a battle that they might not be able to really win. They'd always be repainting and repainting, but if they just let it happen, well, it just becomes kind of a work of art. So I used to drive down here under the Fremont Bridge every day, because this building right here, this is where I used to work. And right over here, behind this window, that was where my desk was, and I did production design. And the trains would rumble by and sometimes shake stuff off the desks. It was quite the time. And hey, look, Worm Boy! So I mentioned those vertical tags when we were crossing the Burnside Bridge, but this vertical tag under the Fremont Bridge is probably the biggest one in the city. And if you want to see how this one was done, you should check out the episode Portland Graffiti by Chaos Town. I got a link in the description for you to watch this amazing insight to the graffiti scene. It's got interviews of people that are for graffiti, against graffiti, and the whole evolution of how graffiti affects the city and region. It's a phenomenal watch. The freeway signs have definitely gotten a lot of graffiti over the past few years, obscuring their freeway and highway directions. This sign coming up here in the upper left has a highway signifier that you cannot read because it's faded. It's supposed to say Highway 30, but that's not going to be talked about for replacement. But what is going to be talked about is this sign right here with graffiti on it, even though it's not covering up any directional information. I know, the larger picture is the illegal activity of graffiti that's defacing the signs, but if a sign is unreadable, it should be at the utmost attention to get repaired or replaced. Now, remember when I was here earlier today, there was a graffiti cleanup crew, and they've done a pretty good job getting everything cleaned up and buffed out. And check this side-by-side out right here. This is about 6 hours later on the right, and it's all gone. They buffed it out, got it back to its original look. Now, driving around Portland, you've definitely probably seen this tagger go over some of these freeway signs and obscure their direction. I've read that these signs could be anywhere from like $8,000 to $20,000 from fabrication all the way through installation. And that is, that's definitely going to be a reactionary solve, because you're just replacing a sign, and unfortunately it's probably just going to get tagged again. I do a lot of production design, and I think maybe a cheaper, more efficient solve would be to print maybe like a vinyl patch and apply it over the sign, because what you're giving the graffiti artist here by not replacing it quickly is exposure. And it's that exposure that will always reward them. So if you get up there quick and can buff it out or cover it up, the quicker you do that, the more you're going to detour it. And I know those signs are expensive. There's got to be a cheaper solution. And I think something like a vinyl printed patch could be that option. I was driving around literally an hour after recording that soundbite, and look what I found. I found a patch. This used to have graffiti on it. They made a patch. Well, looky there. Well, the city buffs it out, and the taggers tag it back. And the Mobius strip of graffiti and graffiti removal keeps going. I asked a lot of people when I was driving around today the question, what do you think of graffiti? And the overall consensus is as long as it's on utilitarian architecture like freeway bridges, freeway walls, train cars, they really don't care, and I'm kind of with them. We all kind of were in agreement that, hey, don't graffiti tag over murals over somebody's private home, small business, try to keep it to this type of arena, this kind of freeway grit, if you will, railway grit. So it was just kind of interesting talking to people about graffiti and what they liked and what they didn't. And obviously the news is going to sensationalize a lot of stuff to make it a more polarizing issue. That's their job to do so. But I just don't know if the millions of dollars being poured into graffiti removal, i.e. just painting over it, is the money best spent. I know there's a lot of red tape and a lot of politics behind it, but only time will tell. That's just the way it goes. But here's another sign up here that, look at I thought this was graffitied, but it's not. It's just wear and tear, and I can hardly even read that. But again, no talk to replace that. Just the signs that got graffiti, because that's the issue. And I get it. I understand that. I'd be lying. I do like the graffiti on the train cars. It looks pretty cool. Now, my rattle can skills aren't very good. I've only tagged one thing in my life, and this is it right here. I got permission. This is at the Curb Gallery. This is an amazing gallery in Portland, and last year I did a show titled You Could Be Next, which is the tagline to Sketchy People. And it was a really fun show, and I just wanted to share, some graffiti that I was inspired by my trip over in London. There was so much great street art over there that I really wanted to make a big statement for the show. And I did. And thank you to Curb Gallery. It was a lot of fun. And here's a look at some sketchy people I've done over the years doing some graffiti.
Thank you so much for watching to the end of this video. I really appreciate that. Let me know, what do you think of graffiti? Comment down below and let's start a dialogue, shall we? Friendly reminder, I've got a show coming up on Friday, July 26th at the Tomorrow Theater. I'll be hosting a special art session called Sketchy Time Excellent, and that's going to be celebrating Wayne's World. We'll do a little sketch session, and then we'll watch Wayne's World on the big screen. So get your tickets, link in the description below, and join me for a really good time. Until next time, stay sketchy.
Hey, Bob, want to paint your name?
No thanks.